We have seen also many of the murders committed today also includes a woman. The statistics have also said a woman is the main perpetrator of violence and murder against her own children than a man. Did you all know that? Well, some of you all know it. But that's what the statistic says. A woman is more likely, a mother is more likely to kill her own child. Kill her own child than a man would. You read it up. But because we're ignoring it, and whenever we ignore things, they become worse over a period of time because people use it as a past. So I want to bring this one about the reshaping of that thinking that is taking place that makes sometimes people feel comfortable. So the change in people affect their beliefs and values through, and I will tell you what they are. Because really what your values are and what your belief is, that is going to affect you. Now, song's going to change a person's value and thinking. Yeah? Inside of these songs, and follow me. You see? Because I know I'm not going to be popular today. Follow me. I just coming down here on the road and listening to one of the radio programs talking about this International Women's Day, and we had some of the same discussions coincidentally taking place. So, if you talk about a woman's body, it is called objectifying her. Look at her boobs, look at her posterior, look at the, we objectify, and women take offense to that. Am I right? Because we only seeing her body, we're not seeing her brain, we're not seeing her intelligence. Men are probably only focused on a woman's body. We just come through Carnival here. Every time a camera turned to some woman, what did she put into the face of the camera? Her body. So is it that women really think that they are being objectified, or is it convenient? You cannot say something against a woman's body, even to call her fat, is now becoming a very offensive statement. A woman has just taken a man to court, a taxi driver. Have you been following that? Something like an Uber driver. She is over 400 and something pounds. And he says, not in my car, and he refused to carry her. She has now taken him to court. So you cannot say something against a woman's body. But if you put it in a calypso, if you put it in soca, if you put it in thing and talk about a woman's body, you can even win $100,000 and win that roach mad because you have done it. And guess who dances the most to it? The same women who say that we are objectifying them. That's why, you know, the Bible says, am I going to become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Somebody has to say it. That there is a shifting value system, and a way to get to people is through their values, and songs is one of the main things. How can we have in this country, we say crime is high. Which prime minister is going to be willing to say we'll ban all violent songs? Dare not. No, because it's not popular. You will not win the next election. How can you have violence on your television straight after news, 8 o'clock in the night? Straight after news, and then put up a sign, violence streams, children are divided. 8 o'clock when you tell your children, sit down and watch the news. That's the thing, because it's inside of our system, inside of our media. So songs is one. 1, 2, role models. Some of these very same role models that our children look up to, we send to the schools to mentor our children. Yes? So, one Calypsonian, who shall we name, remain unnamed now, but I'm sure that if you've been following it, you will be saying it. He was one of the successful people in our carnival system, is on an interview stating that he believes in open relationships. Because somebody asked the question, have you ever been unfaithful to your wife? He said he believes in open relationship. Love's supposed to be free, and he's supposed to be able to love anybody and be able to engage with anybody as he thinks he feels fit. And then we will pay him to go into your schools. And the children admire and adore him. They would not only adore what he says there, they adore his lifestyle. So our role models. Who are the role models for our women? Who are the people that our women look up to? Some of them are talk show hosts that have some very strange value systems. Education. What do we teach our children in school? What do we teach our girls? And are they changing their understanding? And I went into a school. They asked me to come into a school to speak with senior girls. And a girl tells me, I'm a feminist. All right, I do have a problem with that. You're a feminist. So I asked the question, who is a feminist? She rolled her eye. She knew it as a phrase. And to this day, she could not give me an answer as to what a feminist is. Well, somebody who supports women. I say, well, men support women. A number of people support women. But she couldn't go further than that as to what a feminist is. But she's a feminist. So she has a limited understanding of this thing. And she's mimicking only what she has been told. It's a sad, sad thing. Entertainment shapes our values, etc. Any questions so far, people? Yeah? Or let's deal with me, though? Yeah. Oh, no. If I say anything that you don't agree with, you could tell me, you know, that I will tell you I don't agree with you. But you could tell me. The reshaping of our women, where we confuse her values and her beliefs. Values are how we prioritize and act on our beliefs, while beliefs are our assumptions about the world. I took this straight from off the definition online, so I didn't make up this. Values are how we prioritize what becomes our main actions or our belief system, while those beliefs are our assumptions about the world. Because I believe it, I assume this is the way how the world is. Beliefs and values shape our lives, including how we work and interact with other people. So let's separate beliefs. Ideas we accept as true and real is our belief. Assumptions about the world and can be based upon life experiences, culture, and spiritual learnings, and can lead to prejudice. It can affect our morals. So let me ask you a question. Not speaking about whether we are equal before God and have equal access to salvation. I'm not talking about that. Do you believe men and women are equal? Huh? No. All right, one said yes, one said no. Let me hear somebody who said no, let me hear somebody who said yes. And let's be open. Let's be open with it. And I'm not talking about equal before God as human beings and as equal before God in our righteousness to salvation and right to salvation. Talk to me.
Man and woman cannot be equal because there are certain things that women can do that men cannot do. And there are certain things that men can do that women cannot do. So they cannot be equal.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I think that somebody said we are equal.
when it in
Yes.
when it comes to our rights, we are equal. We are under the same laws. We are under the same things. We are human beings just as others. So in every sense, we are equal. Our abilities are individualized, and our ability to do things may differ, right? But we are still equal.
All right. So when it comes to laws, we are equal.
Not just laws, but just being human. We're all human beings, so we are equal.
Okay. So just before I go on, let me ask you this question. Under the law, we are equal. If a man reports abuse from his wife and a woman reports abuse from her husband, are they equally ejected from the house?
It's supposed to be yes.
No,
But it
no.
isn't.
Yeah,
isn't.
we can't change the complexion of it.
The law is equal amongst us all.
Is the law
No,
equal?
yes,
because you said the law is equal.
Yes, it is.
Right. Is it
No.
equal?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
No, when it is a decision is made by a judge to kick the man out of the house or to kick the woman out of the house, that's the judge's decision. That's not the law. The law allows the judge to make that decision.
no. There are things that the law itself is skewed towards the woman. Because if a woman makes a child and she does not have a husband to take care of the child, does the state assist her? If a man has a child and he does not have a woman to assist him, does the state assist him?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, yes, let's come in front here now. Sorry.
I'm saying you took half of it, because I was going to say that when it comes to yes, laws are made for man and woman to follow it. Each has to follow it exactly. But when it comes to the nitty-gritties, really, it's not so. We are biased when it comes to women, especially in the courts, as you see. If a woman goes before the court, she is favored differently than if a man goes before the court. And it's not just in Trinidad and Tobago. It is worldwide. We are more sympathetic to women than we are of men when it comes to certain issues. So as much as we would like to say that we are equal and the laws here to make us equal, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, it's not followed to make us equal.
Okay, thank you very much. The information coming out from research from the university says, and I'm coming along your line, if you take a child raised by a single mother and you take a child raised by a single father, the universities have declared historically and empirically the child that is raised by a single father is less likely to go astray, to be involved in drugs. The girl is less likely to get pregnant because she has a father who's going to be menacing any man who comes near her. So there is more protection for a child than if that child goes up with a single mother. But yet, in the court, the child for custody will be given automatically, almost, to the mother. So we talk about equality, but because of the dogma that is shared with us, we have to ask ourselves, is the equality real or perceived? Yes, and I know where you're going. Candice, go ahead. I know where you're going. Let them tell me. Let them hear where you're going. I'm not going to muzzle you.
while yes, I do agree that favor is given sometimes unfairly to the women, but just to be to put it out there, yes, there are instances where assistance is given to the man if the mother dies or if he is ill and he has custody of the children, he is unable to care for them financially. There are provisions where the men can get the assistance.
And he has equal assistance to it.
Yes.
In
the
your
amount that is given is across the board by law. How much
not the
is
amount,
given?
not the amount. Access.
Yes.
Is equal.
The law that is used to determine how the grant is paid is the same grant across the board for whoever has legal custody of the child.
I'm not going to challenge you because of the fact that you are in the system. So therefore, I'm not going to ignore the fact that you will speak with more authority on it. So a friend of mine wanted to study this thing about men and women in the university. His office, government office, was going to sponsor it. This is not in Trinidad and Tobago. Was going to sponsor it for his studies. When they heard the direction he was going on, that it would have been to find out these inequalities between as how men are not given equal access, they denied him. They said, if you're going to deal with it from a woman's standpoint, we will sponsor it, but we will not sponsor it. We're dealing it from a man's standpoint. His degree now is in a different subject. Not because that is what he wanted, but that it was the only way he would have gotten funding. Yes.
Right. You say you wouldn't challenge Sister Candace because she is in the system.
Yeah, and that is what she does.
Right. So listen, no problem. That's what she does. But she now said that the law is there as equal. But if the law is skewed, what happens? The law is there, but do they imply it equally for men?
And that is what I was talking about, access.
Exactly.
So International Men's Day, there's funding for these international days. You will get funding for International Women's Day. I am the ambassador for International Men's Day, and I could tell you, every year when we go for funding for that, well, Mr. Stewart, you know, we really run out of funds, we don't really have anything, and so on, annually. But International Women's Day, there's always funding for it. United Nations has funding and grants and scholarships only, specifically said, only for women. And you're telling me that this is equality? They specify it is only for women. When there was a survey in Trinidad and Tobago to survey the living conditions of citizens, they only surveyed it for women and girls. And go into the same house where a man is to do the survey. Because they said, well, it is only women and girls, we'll have to come back for the men. It's one house. Just gather the information one time. And I'll go further. Because people watching overseas, so I'm not going to lie to you all. Our acting Prime Minister just declared yesterday they are bringing legislation for domestic and what do they call it, gender-based violence, more aggressive punishment for gender-based violence, which means once you do an act against a gender or what they call it, where it is relations between a husband and wife, they are bringing more aggressive. And in that means that anybody who harms the other partner is supposed to be punished, more aggressive. And he says they are doing this for girls and women. Right. See? But I'm not arguing that, I'm arguing it from the standpoint of why call it gender-based? Just say it is for women. But you give the impression this is for all men and all women who are harmed by their spouses. But you limit it to only punishment for the men. When some of the people who are triggering some of these violence are women. Yes, sir. But we see only the results. Quickly, because I think there are some other hands here.
Okay. From what we have been saying, it seems as though even though we are equal, there is a lot of prejudice and bias. And I tend to agree with Sister Antonia that in practice, we are not practicing equality.
Okay. Is it? And I'm trying to point out that it is more than just practice. I shared with you that the United Nations has 137 international days. More than 7 of those days are assigned to women. International Women's Day, Domestic Violence Against Women, Day for Girls, all of that. I could give you at least 7 days for girls and women out of 137. And we're talking about it's not law, not one for boys, not one for girls. And on their website says the reason that they have International Women's Day is to bring equality. It is by law they will not support the men. This is not by practice. It is not even part of the law. It is not even part of the assignment of the days. And that is what the Men's Day and the founder of International Men's Day have been trying for more than 20-something years to get the United Nations just to say we acknowledge International Men's Day, and they have not. This is not just by what you are saying, that the law is there, but it is not that we practice it. In many cases, the law is not there to cover the men. And I'm not talking by happenstance.
When the topic of equality comes up, some part of the two main topics of conversation is sports and workplace. Let me start off with sports. In the world of sports, it is clear that men and women are not equal. Yes, there are outliers. If I play tennis, there's no way I can beat Serena Williams. There are outliers. There are women that outperform men. There are men that underperform, so there are outliers. But generally, the top tennis athlete, who is Serena Williams, in my opinion, matches up to the top male tennis athletes. There is no comparison. Even in running, the top female sprinter cannot compare to the top male sprinter. And what is unique about this study of sports when it comes to equality is not just physically dominating sports, it's also there are mental sports where when you compare the top male athlete to the top female athlete, when they're in the same category, there's a huge dominance of the male over the female.
Mm-hmm.
So that is comparing sports. When you look at the workplace, which is also the other huge topic, there is a drive to say that men and women are equal. They should have the same access to jobs. They should have the same promotion as men, which sounds good. But I was having a conversation with someone that there was a particular job where the majority of the workers were women.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time where almost 80% of the women had to go off on maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are in a workplace and as a owner of a business and you're saying, yes, equality, let me just hire people and not factor in gender. If all of my staff are pregnant, who are the people who need to continue in the workforce? If all of my staff cannot lift boxes, who are the people who need to take up that workload. So while it is good to say that in the workplace men and women should be equal, we cannot be equal because of physical makeup. We cannot be equal because of the workload that is required in the workplace. So yes, it is good to say that access to everyone, that, and it's unfortunate that there are some people who are the disadvantage in certain areas because of gender, whether it's the male are disadvantaged in some female dominating areas or the female are disadvantages. While it is unfortunate that that happens, the reality is that they cannot be equal in certain areas.
And I think when we come to accept that equality is a concept, but not a reality, it is only then we could move forward. So I agree with you 100%. Yesterday being International Women's Day, you know, one of the things that we've heard is that we need to now put equal number of women in the boardrooms, in politics, in all of these things. And whenever there is, I remember a cabinet was chosen sometime a year ago, and the question was, look at the number of men who they have chosen to lead and the number of women. And so there's always that challenge. I don't have a problem with the challenge. But I listened yesterday to International Women's Day, and I listened to a woman's talk about equality. And she says that women are now breaking the glass ceiling. And here's what she says: we now have a president is a woman, not president of the country, but president of the organization. The president is a country, there's a woman. The vice president is a woman. The treasurer is a woman. The education officer is a woman. And came down with about 4 or 5 different positions, all of them women. But not a complaint about that this is not equality. So equality is almost selective and conditional. But if you put in the same organization, for those 5 offices and men, well, no, we have an equality problem. And that is what we are saying. Our belief system is now also creeping into the church. This is why there's a particular relative that I have that have no problem with the church and the doctrine of the church. One thing that they have a problem with. Guess what that is? Huh? Women can't preach. Once they change that, she's okay, because she believes everything else. Why? It's creeping into the church that churches are now forced, and a lot of preachers and pastors bending now to get those type of people, because it's the only way they're going to come in. But you have to be strong enough as a leader to stand up and recognize that the Bible says even the hairs of your head not equal. It's not the same. Your fingerprints not the same. Identical twins are not the same. They're not equal. Do not treat your children as equal, because your children, no 2 child from the same home will ever be equal, even though it's 2 boys or 2 girls. It's a myth. They think differently, they'll operate differently. And one of the problems that we have found is that by trying to do it equal, we mess up our children. So, it affects how we operate. And one of it is values, how we attribute worth to behavior and objects. Our values it exists in our behavior, character, and our personalities. I'm showing the difference between beliefs and values. We believe one thing, but the value is how we, the freedom of choice. What are we going to choose? And we can operate at different levels on a personal level, because that's how values change. From a personal level, when I'm with my friends, I behave a certain way. So with my friends, somebody may curse bad word and drink. From a personal level. When we're in a group, well, you know, we behave a bit different. Group like in church, we behave different. When it comes to an organization, we in work, it's a different person. And in society, we are a different person. The value systems tend to change. And it guides the way we make decisions and the way we process things. So, so we motivate people to act in a certain way. And I want to point out to you something that a psychologist shared. Motivating people to act in a certain way. And I'm using what is called the Easter egg hunt. This is a story that I listened to a psychologist give of his childhood when he was 10 years old. This is what he said. His mother usually have them doing Easter egg hunt. You all know what that is? Okay, I don't know what it is. I've never had it. We've never celebrated Easter. We've never had this Easter egg hunt, but apparently they hide eggs, and who retrieves the most egg wins. So he and his sister going on the Easter egg hunt. He's bigger than his sister. He's also wiser than his sister because he's older. And he's able to now access places that his sister might not be able to access because he has more, what they call it, mobility to be able to do it. So every year he wins. And he says that his sister always makes this complaint and crying and that she's not getting a chance to win. You know how children are. When you don't win, you have a little problem. So the child is making that. So the mother comes to him, and he says, the mother comes and says to him, using point number 1 that affects the way how people are motivated. 1, couldn't you let your sister win this year? Which is pity. They say that's one of the ways to motivate and manipulate. Pity. Why can't you just let your sister win? Change from merit now. That she's not pushing towards merit. She's pushing because she is his little sister. And when we do that in society, that we put people into positions only because they are a woman or a man, then we have a big problem coming up. We try to choose prime ministers because this prime minister is a woman, or the vine is a woman. It's not going to work. We went to watch our daughter in parade, and I'm standing up near some ladies. The parade is coming along. So the ladies are there looking nice and regaled and uniformed and so on. And I listening to 2 ladies talk. Oh, the ladies look so outstanding. They look better than the men. But the men ain't reached yet because it's only the ladies passing. How could you come to a conclusion like that? You understand how the psyche is? We have not seen the men yet, but they look better than the men. Look how they look nice. That pity, change it from merit. That is not that you now look at the man and say, well, look at it. Yes, the women look better. Then you come to a conclusion. And we do that over and over in society where the pity is done. He says when that did not work for him, because he told his mother that he wants to win too, because it's what you call the zero level, that somebody has to win but somebody has to lose. So he insisted that he wants to win also. Then she went to shame. Don't you think that a little, that you are a little too old to play this game? To shame him. Big boy as you, letting your sister lose. And he says that a big brother, would you not want your sister to win? And don't you care about her feelings? For her to win, therefore he has to lose and back down from merit. Pity and shame. And then he says, that did not work for him either, so his mother became upset. If this is the way how you're going to behave, I don't think that we're going to play this game anymore. It's not healthy. And he says that was the last year they played that game. They got Easter egg gifts or hampers or something so that it would equalize the setting. And I thought of that when I read this story. And having read it, the result was an attempt to emotionally manipulate. So how some women shape the perception of being a man using emotional manipulation? Pity. In today's world, one, the man has the power. Isn't it time that women should now have a chance to have the power? The world is too patriarchal. Everything is men, everything is men. Have you seen that coming out? Yeah, so that we'll feel pity for the woman. Real men wear pink. Have you seen that? Which means if you are a real man, pink is going to be your color. Now we have real men wear heels. They play football. Do you know that? In heels. It is the manipulation that's taking place of our belief system and our values. So when a man says he's straight, this is what an entertainer, female entertainer, recently said. If a man is straight, it's your first red flag in dating. She's talking to women. If your man is straight, which means he only has sex with women, and if he's straight, it is a woman's first flag. Red flag. You understand where we're going? Some people telling you all these things I'm telling you, they don't. Because even men back down and not want to come up against women with this. So, it moves to shame. Men are intimidated by successful, powerful, high-earning women. I've never heard a man say so. I speak to thousands of men, have many focus groups, and I've never heard a man, Mr. Stewart, you know, I just feel so intimidated when my wife or my girlfriend working for so much money. I don't like that. I've never heard a man say that. So where did that come from? They teach it to the women. Women teach it to women to bring the shame. So that when they say so, we start to defend ourselves. No, not so, and so on, and then we start to defend ourselves. It is not so. In fact, in a group of boys that I had, here are the boys, Mr. Short, I like when she had a car. I could get to drive. I like when she working for money. I don't have to work so hard. They actually take advantage of the fact that they actually now looking for women. Who better off than them? Because one guy told me he wants to be a stay-at-home dad. Let you go out and work because she working for more money anyway. But the shame is the next static. And then, of course, pity, shame, anger. Any man who questions a woman or challenges her is whatever that word is. Prejudice against women. So, as soon as a man says something to a woman today, you hear these kind of words being thrown about as to who we are. And I want to give you my story when I was 12 years old. And I thought of it, and the reason I'm bringing it, because I said, pity, shame, anger. So I was in a function, and I'm listening to this guy teaching, and I was accepting what he was teaching. And these two ladies sitting next to me, older than I am, mature women, lean over and say, well, they didn't call me Mr., but I put myself Mr. there, because I was a little boy then. And they are telling me what the guy is saying is wrong. And somebody needs to point it out to him. So she's trying to show that she has pity for the guy for being misled, and somebody has to point it out to him. I understood what you were saying, and I seem to have appreciated the lesson you were thinking. So I did not countenance them. I didn't plan to deal with it. So they went to the next position. And the next position was now shame. Michael, you are afraid to speak up. You're just as dumb as he is. So she's trying to make me shame for not doing what she says. So I'm seeing the pattern, and I understood the pattern now. Pity, shame, And then it turned to anger. They stoops and in disgust. And I never forgot this phrase. I don't know what kind of man you will turn out to be. That stuck in my head from 12 years old. The exact phrase. So, what she's trying to do here now is cause to manipulate me with my anger, with their anger. So now let me put up my hand and challenge somebody on something that I did not have a problem with. They were attempting to shape, whether consciously or unconsciously, my perception of manhood. That a man will do as a woman says. Which is what happens many times in our children's years. And then I said, I wonder if the Bible supports this. So, could you all get Judges chapter 16 for me, please? I know I'm going over time, but I will go down easy on the other part. Judges chapter 16. The technical people? Judges 16. And I want you to go to verse 4. We're going to reach at verse 4 to 10. Let's see if we see these things coming out. Pity, shame, and anger. Right? Any questions so far? All you with me or I lost you all? I lost all you? Oh. All you vexed with me? All right. Pity, shame, anger. Keep that in mind. So I checked it out in my own life and I tried to check it out to see whether this is a system in truth. All right. Let's see if they have it. Nicely. Kind of small, but I could look back and hear what it says. Guess who it is that we're talking about here? And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman, Samson. Powerful, strong man. He loved a woman, the valley of Sirach, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him, manipulate him, and see wherein his great strength lies, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver, we'll give it for that. And Delilah said to Samson, listen to her going out there, pity, shame, and what? Anger. Listen to her. Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy strength lies, and wherein might you be bound to afflict you. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me 7 green wreaths that will, with 7 green wreaths, it's something like a band, a string, that will never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. All right? So she get the information. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green wreaths which had not been dried, and bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber, and she said unto him, the Philistines be upon you. She setting up her own husband. And he brake the reeds, and a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire, so his strength was not known. Listen to Delilah. And Delilah said to Samson, behold, you have mocked me. You make me look stupid. And he told me lies. Now tell me, I pray you, wherein it might is. She's pulling pity that you make me look this way. Are you seeing it? No? Somebody say no? Pity. That's one. 2. Which verse are we in? And he said unto her, if you bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then I will be weak and be as another man. And Delilah took the new ropes, bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon you. Samson, there were liars in wait, abiding in him, and he brake them off of his hands like thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, because he now break it again. Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto you have mocked me and told me lies. You are a hypocrite. You're not honest. She's honest. Shame. Some of the very things that they and some of the people are guilty of, they blame you for. So you mock me, you make me think you should be ashamed of yourself as a man to have done me this. And tell me wherein your strength lies. And he said, if you wear the 7 locks of my head with the web, if you tie it with the web. And she fastened it with the pin and said unto him, the Philistine, I don't know why Samson keep bothering with this thing, but anyway, that's the next story by itself. Because it also goes to show how some man, anyway, let's go ahead. She fastened it with a pin and said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep and went away with the pin and the beam and the web. Listen to her now. Pity, shame, upset, anger. And she said unto him, how can thou say you claim to love me? And I'm sure she didn't say this with love in her heart. You claim to love me. When your heart is not with me, you don't love me? What kind of love is that? If you did love me, you would have. You understand? Remember we say lack of accountability. Not looking at what you are doing, but always looking at what somebody else is doing. You have claimed to love me. You have mocked me these 3 times. And have told me, not told me wherein your strength lies. After a while of a woman manipulating, not every woman, manipulating a man, many times a man gives in. Because he's not man enough to stand up. And a lot of men, I spoke to a government minister in a next country. Because I like to say that so that nobody would start to point out things. And he says, I am the line minister, the top minister in this department. But my assistant is a female. He says, every time I try to push matters for men, she opposes it. But the staff under her are also women. And he says, sometimes I really back off, because I just can't do the fight. And so that's part of the reasons why, remember, if you remove it like the Easter egg thing, if you remove it, then there's going to be no competition again. So we just get rid of the who comes first and who comes second. It came to pass, he said unto her, and it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, his soul was vexed unto death. Fed up, tired, that he told her all his heart and said unto her, there hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like unto other men. 18. When Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines. Again, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand, and she made him sleep upon her knees. Darling. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and he began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. A lot of weak men are in existence today. because they have lost the will to fight as a man. And we have got to recognize this thing is orchestrated, planned. I am not for abuse of women. I'm not for trying to dominate women at all. But I'm out for we need to see more men. We are not going to find in government people who will make laws for men because, again, they don't want to make laws for men because it is not going to come across too well when you have a large voting population of women. We don't have people who will do the right thing and say the right thing because it's the right thing to do and say. We don't have enough people to do that. But when we have the church now that the church is afraid to talk on things because we are afraid of the pushback from women, then it's all gone. It's all gone. So, International Women's Day is a time for our women and our girls and our men to reflect and recenter. It's not to create hate, but to create reality in how we think. And God, I believe, has a special place and an importance for women. And that I want to talk when we come back from the break. Any questions, anybody? All the men free to talk now. Silent as ever. All right. We'll break for 3 minutes. We will not break too long because we have already gone into overtime. And we're going to try and make it as quickly as possible through the lesson that we're going to come with in just a while. Thank you very much. God bless you.
44. Anywhere is home. After which we have our opening prayer, which will be done by Brother Peter. Song number 4. Earthly ways and faith.